Hello and welcome back to the Sports Resort. This is your home for all things sports. I am your host, Gannon and Toby. I want to welcome you guys. This is episode number 45, the big 4-5 here. And we are so excited to have you guys. Real quick, before we get into this, like and subscribe. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube and like the video. It really helps us out. It continues to grow our brand. So stop whatever you're doing. Just open up a YouTube tab. If you're already watching us on YouTube, just hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you're listening to us via audio, just log into your YouTube account real quick, look us up, and please hit that subscribe and like button. We appreciate all the support you guys have been giving us. I'm here with my main man, Toby, here, as we have a lot to cover on this week's episode. We're currently watching Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals right now. The Bucks trying to close out the Hawks and take a lead into that. So we'll get all into the NBA action for you guys. We have some NHL to talk about as we now have our finalists. Montae's Vegas Knights could not bring it home. And we have some foreigners in the final. So we'll cover all of that for you guys. Another quick MLB update as well. And then like we highlighted last week, we will be having our top 10 at an NFL position each week. We are finally going to get that going. This week we're going to do cornerbacks. So I'm very excited. We have our list. We also have the CBS list as well. It's kind of what we used to vary off of it last year. So we're going to continue to do that for this week's episode. So I'm going to continue to do that. So all that for you guys. So definitely stay tuned, as those tend to be really fun debates there. Before we get started, you got anything for us today?
I have not seen the CBS list yet. I made mine, didn't look at any other experts. So I'm really anxious to see what they say. So I've got a feeling our lists are going to be pretty different.
Yeah. I wasn't mad about the list. Could it be better? Yes. But I wasn't mad about it. So we'll see how it is. I remember last year I was livid about the what's that?
At just about every position.
Yeah. Oh, the running backs was atrocity. Receivers was blasphemous. So they're at least off to a decent start. Cornerbacks isn't too bad, but we'll get into it. But first, before we get into all of that, of course, you guys know our first segment of the show titled "What Is You Doing?" We're going to be highlighting some of the biggest idiots involved in sports around the world. People doing way too much and need to stop. I think I went first last week, so I'll let you go first this week.
Yes. My what is you doing? I've been very upset about this for the entirety of the time I found out. So since 1 a.m. on Thursday night, my what is you doing goes to the NCAA for sending North Carolina State home from the College World Series, and I would get it. Look, it's a tough issue because they have COVID. There's COVID cases on the team, and you want to play it safe. However, the NCAA in Douglas County, Omaha, where the tournament is held, did not check for any vaccination from fans, didn't check to see or test anybody at the gates, and let everybody in mask-free. Health and safety protocol. You played just earlier that day. You sent the guys out there knowing that there was a positive test. You played a game on Thursday, canceled Friday. They were still going to play shorthanded, of course. But you still played the game on Thursday, didn't cancel that one. So are we really doing our best for health and safety protocols there, NCAA? And it's really tough still because you don't want the Vanderbilt players to get infected, all that. Have to postpone the entire tournament for weeks upon a time, which is, would be very unfortunate. But the college baseball account, the NCAA CWS Twitter account, during the Mississippi State-Texas game, which was played hours after the Vanderbilt-North Carolina State third game should have been played, tweeted about the attendance that was set, the attendance record that they set. So perhaps the most tone-deaf, most NCAA thing ever, They look after the money. They don't look after the student athletes in NC State who are eligible to play. Like the guys who didn't test positive, who were eligible to play still, could have gone out there, probably would have lost. They're going to face the best pitcher in college baseball. We're probably going to lose anyway, but you didn't even let them get the chance. The NCAA micromanaging, shut it down before NC State players had a chance to do anything. Worse than that, they announced the news at night at 1 a.m., so 2 o'clock, back where NC State's located in Raleigh, North Carolina. At 2 in the morning, announced that game was called off. Yeah, so in the middle of the night, you just end their season. And there's a lot of people out there, and this is why it's such a touchy subject, because they're saying, oh, you should have been vaccinated. 4 of the players that tested positive for NC State were vaccinated, truth be told. So it's a very, very tough situation, but the NCAA just handled it about as poorly as you could. They weren't up front. They made it about health and safety protocols without following any of their own or providing any protocols for fans and people entering the game. And then above all that, to brag about what's still going on, as you just sent home a team that they were kind of the underdog story. They're kind of the fan favorite. Just sent them home. Didn't really do anything for them. Classic NCAA. All about the money, not about the student athletes. Shame on you, NCAA.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, that's pretty crappy. I didn't know the part about them being vaccinated and them testing positive. That's even worse.
Yeah,
even worse.
It just goes to show, and you should get vaccinated, but it just goes to show not every vaccine is 100% positive. Yeah. In fact, I'm sure no vaccine is 100% for 100%.
No, none of them are. And yeah, that is a fair point with the crowd thing. Them being able to try to fill up that stadium as much as they can, and a team literally had to be disqualified because they weren't social distancing. And so I saw something. I forget who tweeted it. It was one of those blue checkmark random sports people. But they said the messed up part is that NC State couldn't play in the game in the stadium. But had the players bought tickets to go see the Mississippi State-Texas game, they would have been allowed in the stadium anyhow. Because there was no testing, no proof of vaccination, no nothing. And I know, I went to the games. So there was, nothing there. Pretty unfortunate when... Yeah, they could just dress up in street clothes and then just go in the stadium anyway.
Yep. So pretty ridiculous double standard. They're not going to test the Vanderbilt players, by the way. Played the game against them following the positive test. Not going to test those Vanderbilt players before they go and take on Mississippi State in the championship round starting tomorrow. So interesting, very interesting from the NCAA.
Yeah, definitely. What's crazy is, so my what is you doing is almost on the opposite side of that. So yours is about how the NCAA is not checking in and taking care of their players or watching after them or doing what they can to watch after them. My what is you doing goes to the MLB, and more specifically the MLB umpires, because what they did to my man Max Scherzer last week, unreal. They were searching this man middle of the game while he wasn't even on the mound. They're checking for any type of foreign substance. They're really trying to crack down on pitchers using anything to help aid them. And this dude, Max Scherzer, was not having it. He threatened to strip middle of the game, unbuckled his pants, was about to pull his pants down in front of the entire world. Because it's just ridiculous. The lengths they're going through to see if they're using a banned substance. If you want to check what they have before the game, I wouldn't have a problem with that. If you're trying to crack down on that. Mid-game or while he's in the dugout is just absolutely asinine. That's just stupid. That's just so over the top. I don't understand what you think that's. And baseball's already long enough. So the last thing we need to be taking time during the game to be checking for foreign substances. You need, and at this point, I get it. Obviously, you don't want that type of stuff in the sport, but honestly, I'm tone deaf to any of that because the last team that cheated got away with what they were doing. So you already have shown that you don't really care that much about people who cheat. So I'm sorry if pitchers are using a foreign substance, and I'm sure the batters probably care, but you've already set a precedent that you're not going to really punish those who go against the rules. So I really don't have any incentive as a fan to be like, man, crack down on that. Because you already don't care. So what's the point? So
100% agree.
What are you doing?
Very poor execution by the MLB to do it mid-season too. So these guys they're used to throwing with it on their hands. You've taken it off. I know a Rays pitcher, Tyler Glasnow, who is a Cy Young candidate, was complaining. He said that's what injured him, that he didn't get to use anything to grip the ball, so he has to grip them tighter. So there's injury concerns. Yeah, you've got guys. Sergio Romo out in Oakland was doing it, stripping down to nothing. Really just making a public spectacle. And also, what is you doing to Joe Girardi for the Phillies? Like, their manager, man, come on. He said, I've never seen Max Scherzer run his hands through his hair. Well, yeah, you're trying to find anything that'll help you grip the ball. What if the NBA at the free throw line, they said, hey, you know what, it's a foreign substance, or you have to have the substances on your hand. No more wiping your hands off on your jersey before free throws. He's using the sweat from his hair to help grip. Joe Girardi's like, I want to see that man get nude so he can prove it. Joe Girardi, what is you doing?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Can't even use your sweat now to grip a baseball. That's ridiculous.
It's just dumb, man. I don't know. I don't know what the owners want or what they're thinking, but clearly there needs to be a new commissioner. You ask Montae, that guy needs to be assassinated. But
oh man, yeah.
Terrible. The rules are getting dumb. Like this makes no sense. Baseball's already dying. I shouldn't say dying, but it's definitely it's not as popular as it used to be, and it's only getting more unpopular. And then you have stuff like this going on. You can't alienate the fans, the players, and the coaches as well. So if the fans are mad and there's not a demand for it, now you're pissing off the players too. Like now it's not fun for the players to even play. This is just bad all around. So I don't know what they need to do. They need to get their stuff together, but just pour on every level by the MLB, just time after time, man. We've only been doing this podcast for right at a year, and I feel like we've talked about this so many different times for so many different occasions why the MLB is jacked up. And this is just another example. Another example. But yeah, but I think we'll let it end with that. I'll get off the MLB's back for now. But this is just dumb. Like I don't get it. But we'll transition now over to the NBA, and actually a good time because the game 3 just ended with the Bucks getting a win over the Hawks. That game finished 113-102. A insane performance by Chris Middleton, really putting the team on his back, and now the Bucks lead that series 2-1. Middleton putting up 38 points, 15 of 26 shooting in this game. I believe I was watching it earlier. He either had 16 or 18 points alone in the fourth quarter. Just an unreal performance down the stretch. Trae Young did what he could. He did get injured. He was questionable to return. He did end up returning. He had 35 points himself, but obviously that was not enough as the Bucks now hold a 2-1 lead in that series. In our other series over in the Western Conference Finals, the Phoenix Suns took a 3-1 lead last night after beating the Los Angeles Clippers 84-80. A very sloppy basketball game, to say the least. The Clippers had like 39 points, at halftime. It was not pretty basketball, but nonetheless still very exciting, as it looked like neither team really wanted to win that game in the last, I'd say, 6 or 7 minutes or so. It just was brick after brick, turnover after turnover, foul after foul. Devin Booker even fouled out of the game. It just was a mess. And Chris Paul, some just uncharacteristic turnovers, poor shot selection. Zubac was terrible. just a mess. But the Suns were able to get it done in the end. and they now hold the cards. They are just one win away. Game 5 is tomorrow back in Phoenix after they just played the last 2 in Los Angeles. So the Suns have a chance to close out their series as early as tomorrow. So that's going to be very exciting, must-watch basketball. Kawhi has been announced out already. They announced that earlier tonight that he will not be playing and will not be traveling to the game. So the earliest we may see him would be a Game 6, if indeed a game is possible. So what has been your takeaways so far? Well, I'll get your takeaways from the Western and Eastern Conference.
From the West, it's really interesting. I love watching these games because I thought the basketball was going to be very pristine the whole way through. I thought these were two teams that were built around skill. Nope. They were talented. They played, they played hard. They played well together. And the quality of game has sort of dipped a little bit since that first one. And now ending up in probably not all-time low, but the season low in terms of quality of basketball played in the postseason. I hate to do it. I really do hate to do this, but I have to bring up Paul George. Because Paul George, with Kawhi out, Paul George has to step up and be the guy. They paid him like he's the guy. NBA media, before he got there, treated him like he was the guy. After last year, every fan had doubts. And this year, I think he put a lot of those doubts sort of to rest for a little bit. Even in that Utah series, he was going on great stretches. But what separates a good basketball player, which Paul George is, he's not a bad basketball player. And I think everybody knows that, even the people who joke about it on Twitter, who call him one of the most trash players in the league. I think they know he's a good basketball player, right? And not even just for relative terms. For NBA terms, he's a good player. But what separates you from good and great in this league is what you do when it matters most. And when it matters most, this guy's come up short far too often for the Clippers. I don't fault him for game 1, but game 2, they win the game if Paul George makes free throws. Last night, they have a chance in this game if Paul George makes a free throw. That doesn't even include all the misses. I'm taking all those field goal attempts out. Everybody missed. I mean, Devin Booker wasn't good last night. The only thing Chris Paul made was free throws. Like, none of them were good. But when you are going, you're going to have to be
25% from the line last night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, just when
that's worse than Ben Simmons.
I hate. I really hate to bring it up because I feel like we're kind of in this place now where there's a stigma around Paul George that he will never break until he wins a championship, and that's that he doesn't perform in the postseason. Because I feel like it's that same way for Giannis. Like, I feel like there's still people out there who believe Giannis doesn't do anything in the postseason, despite the fact that he's in the Eastern Conference Finals right now. And I know there were some extenuating circumstances, but I mean, they beat the Nets, right? They swept the Heat, who knocked him out last year, and I still think we feel like it's postseason Giannis, you know? Like, nobody really believes in him. But so I hate to bring it up because the stigma around Paul George is going to remain there forever, and I don't really need to talk about it. But it has to be talked about because with Kawhi out, you have to be the guy, and he can't be the guy. And I don't think he'll ever be a great player because I don't think he has that in him. He might have in Indiana when he was playing with a bunch of confidence, when it felt like the whole world wasn't against him. But I feel like he's not as confident anymore. Despite the fact that he plays on a better team with better teammates than he did in Indiana, he's less confident now because of us, the fans, who have told him, you're not that guy, pal. We the fans, you're not that guy. And I hate to see it. And I think it affects his play late in games because he thinks about it.
Listen,
he doesn't just go out and play. And I hate to say it, but if Paul George was better late in games, we damn well could be talking about the Clippers closing out this series. So for as much good as he's done in this series, a lot of this deficit on his shoulders.
Look, I have no. Now I know obviously you can say I'm biased. I really cannot stand the Clippers. But I do not apologize in any way, shape, or form because this is what he wanted. He wanted this limelight. He wanted this. He obviously did not have a say in being traded to OKC. And I know he technically was traded to the Clippers, but he was trying to get to LA or try to get to a team that would be his team since OKC was still Russ's team at the time. He was trying to get to have his own team or be teaming up with another superstar of his caliber and try to compete for a championship. This is what he wanted. So, and I didn't really see it. I understand he had some good years in Indiana, but even then, I mean, they gave the Heat all they could, and you got to give him props for that. But even then, I mean, he was still young, and then he had a gruesome injury, so I felt bad there for that at least. But then when he came back to OKC, when he went to OKC his first year, didn't show up in the postseason. Him and Russ both didn't click very well. Then he had an MVP caliber season. I was like, okay, that's when I, gained a lot more respect. That's the Paul George I wanted to see, not just sit back waiting for Russell Westbrook to do everything. Then he comes to LA and resorts back to the old Paul George. He lets Kawhi do everything, and when Kawhi is out, he's a lost cause. He's a lost cause. He does step up for him every now and then. He'll give you a 30 ball because he's capable of it. But when it matters most, he's not. He's just not that dude. He's not. And I'm one of those fans on Twitter talking about Paul George is not that dude. And I'm going to continue to because he put himself in this position saying that this is what he wanted. Just trust me. I'd do the same thing if this was LeBron. LeBron came to my favorite team. LeBron went out there and was acting like a bum. I would be shaming him as well, even though I do like the dude and he's on my team. This is what you wanted. It's the same thing when people scrutinize LeBron. When you call yourself the chosen one, that's what happens. So now it's not obviously to that. He didn't get scrutinized to LeBron's degree, but this is what you wanted, bro. This is what you getting. So I don't feel bad for Paul George.
No, I don't either. And to leave the Western Conference positive, DeAndre Ayton for the Suns he's made his money. He's making big money after this one because when everybody was so horrible yesterday, and it gave him the chance to get a bunch of rebounds, but 19, 20, and 5 yesterday for the big man, plus the winner in game 2, obviously, which everybody will remember. Iconic moment in Suns history. One of the few iconic moments in Suns history, but an iconic moment nevertheless. DeAndre Ayton,
bro.
he's earned himself that money, and I think gotten some people off his back because he was the first overall pick when Trae Young went and Luka Doncic went when a few picks behind him. So I think he's gotten a few people off his back, and he's really sort of solidified that he deserved it. He deserved to be picked that high, and he deserves his money, his recognition. So shout out Ayton.
Yeah, solid dude. What about the East?
I was very conflicted on this series going in because I felt like Milwaukee's the better team, but I feel like Atlanta, they felt like that team of destiny in a way. And when they won game 1, I was really nervous about the Bucks again. However, in the 2 games since, I think the Bucks have actually shown that they are the better team. And I was a little bit worried about it because I don't know if they believed it deep down. They beat the Nets, but really, let's be honest, they beat the Nets because the Nets were hurt. And I didn't know how much they believed, but when they came back in game 2 and they won in the fashion that they did, I think by 34 points. Yeah, the lead got up to almost 40 points. I was like, okay, this looked like the Bucks team in the first round that believed they were the best team on the court. They came back today. They're down 15 in the first half. Rally. They tie it before even halftime. They made that rally. And then they let Chris Middleton, like we've been saying on this podcast, they let Chris Middleton take over down the stretch, put the ball in his hands, and Giannis could be there if necessary. But they let somebody else get going. Didn't say Giannis go head first into the lane every possession. When they gave it to Middleton, The offense opened up in the fourth quarter. They were able to close it out. And I think the Bucks are going to win this series. And I think that this year's Bucks team is finally putting together, after all of these playoff losses and all of these shameful exits, I think this Bucks team is starting to figure it out. They're all now veterans playing against the Hawks for the first time. I would not be shocked, and I'm going to say it here on the podcast, I would not be one bit surprised if the Bucks win this series, probably 5 or 6, and then go on and win the NBA Finals. I say it in this podcast. After watching the last 2 games, I believe in them. I think there's something in their mentality, their framework, that they're now not afraid. They lost game 1. The way they responded to me told me a lot, because it's in years past that they've lost a big playoff game and then they've sort of withered away. And then they're better now than they were at any point in the playoffs after these last 2 games. So I am very, very impressed with the Bucks. Very impressed with Giannis, with Middleton, with Holiday. I mean, don't put Lopez in the pick and roll defense, and he'll be all right too. But yeah, very impressed with the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm not quick to just crown them just yet, because outside of that the game that the Suns lost in Game 3, they've been nothing but phenomenal this entire playoff run. I mean, they swept the Nuggets. They're assuming if they win tomorrow, they would win in 5 there. They won 3 straight to close up the Lakers. So they've won 12 of their last 13 games. That's straight dominance right there. So I'm not ready to no pun intended, pass the buck over to Milwaukee just yet. But they are looking very impressive. And I think that those two are standing out to be the 2 best in the postseason on each side. So, and I know the Nets, again, they were injured, but I mean, that's part of it. I think the Suns are kind of in the position they are because of injuries as well. So, I mean, that's just how the dice roll sometimes. You gotta move on with it. So, now I'm excited to see it. Hopefully, obviously I'm rooting for the Suns. Hopefully they can close that out, get some rest, and then, I mean, I'm still gonna be rooting for the Hawks, but this is not looking good for them. They're in a bad situation coming up. And I believe their next game will be on Tuesday, the 29th. So that game will be back in Milwaukee. Or, excuse me, that game will be in Atlanta for Game 4 of that game. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, Trae Young has responded, though, to adversity. They have found ways. So they've dropped 2 in a row. They obviously got blown out in Game 2, had a lead for most of this game, and then let it slip away. Chris Middleton was just a dog down the stretch. I don't know. I mean, that could be a little wake-up call. And they've shown it so far every time in this postseason. So I can't count the Hawks just yet, but the Bucks are looking nice.
Oh, yeah. I definitely don't think you can. When you remember what they did against Philadelphia, I mean, to come back on their home court down 26, to go into Philly, win Game 7 after dropping Game 6 at home. Yeah, they're a tenacious group. There's no doubts about it. Milwaukee, it's kind of funny. They're sort of in that Philly stage too, aren't they? Where you're feeling like, hey, this is our year. And if we don't win now, we're going to have to make major, major changes.
Yeah.
But I think they've got the mentality for it. I don't think they have a Ben Simmons. Because, I mean, look, you can compare Simmons and Giannis. You compare them at the free throw line. You compare them in what they can't do offensively, which is shoot the ball from the perimeter. Getting to the basket's really all they can do. They dish out from it, but that's really all they can do. But I like Giannis a lot more than Simmons, because Giannis is not afraid to shoot the ball, even when he shouldn't be. He's not afraid to go to the free throw line, even when the Bucks and Budenholzer don't want him to be. He's not afraid of the moment. So my prediction right now, Suns in 5. I'm going to go Bucks. I think Bucks wrap it up in Atlanta. I think Bucks will wrap it up in Atlanta in 6.
Okay.
And, I'm thinking it'll be a Suns and Bucks final, which we all predicted at the beginning of the season, of course.
100%. Never questioned it. Never questioned it at all. That's so random.
I will be cheering for Atlanta, full disclosure. If Creed is listening, just know that I'm not Bucks bandwagon now. I just happen to think they're playing their best basketball at the moment. But, yeah, Let's go Hawks. Let's go Hawks.
Suns and Hawks. Let's go. Real quick, before we move on from the NBA, we do have a couple of announcements as far as coaching is concerned. So your Boston Celtics have now finally hired a coach. They will be hiring former Nets coordinator. You have to. How do you pronounce his first name? I'm sorry.
Ime Udoka.
Okay. Ime Udoka as their new head coach. Sorry, I'm not. I wasn't going to be able to do that one. Ime Udoka as their new head coach. Connor's Indiana Pacers. They have hired former Mavericks coach Rick Carlisle to be their new head coach. The Dallas Mavericks will now be replacing Carlisle with the Lakers, with former Lakers assistant coach Jason Kidd and former Mavericks player Jason Kidd. And then as of tonight, right before we get on this podcast, the Portland Trail Blazers have announced that they will be hiring Chauncey Billups as their new head coach, who is currently the assistant over with the Los Angeles Clippers. So there has been some movement as far as coaching is concerned in the NBA. The other ones, I mean, I don't really have too big of concerns or opinions yet for the first three. That last one, though, do you think this will be the final nail in the coffin that will end up leading to Damian Lillard's departure from Portland?
I believe Lillard wanted this. Is what you'd have to believe that for them to go and make this sort of hire. It's good to go from Terry Stotts to Chauncey Billups. Feels like a pretty big switch up. I think it's the one that Dame wanted to be tied together with an NBA championship winning point guard who's been there, done that, veteran of the league, knows the game. I think that Dame wanted this. Now, is it going to work out? I mean, who knows? Former point guards turned head coaches, sort of up and down. Jason Kidd, he had a horrible time in Milwaukee when he was a head coach. Steve Nash, pretty good time in Brooklyn his first year. Of course, the injury sort of derailed things, and he had the most talented team. But
yeah,
I don't think this means a whole bunch in terms of Lillard going before the season starts or what happens. So I think this is the move that Lillard wanted. He's definitely the most unproven of the group, if that means anything.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been a lot of reports that he's thinking about leaving. I don't know.
Yeah.
And some of it came out today before they announced that Billups was going to be the head coach. So I don't know if this was all right, we got to go just get him. This is the guy we need to do to keep Damian Lillard there. But I don't know. I do think this is a move that he would at least be happy of or approve of. But even we had a small little Walsh bomb earlier discussing that he still was thinking about having his foot out the door. So I don't know what this is going to mean for his future with Portland.
Yeah, I think if that is the case and he does want out, in Portland, you can get a haul for him. Like, for Damian Lillard right now, you could go out, you could get so much. Like, they'll probably bring in some good young point guard to Chauncey Billups anyhow to try to help him out. So It'll be interesting to see how Portland balances it if Dame does want out. The only thing I wanted to talk about with the coaches is we talked in our group. Obviously, me and Creed's our favorite teams have new head coaches. How is it that the only one of us who has a coach that's won a championship before is the one that's unhappy with the move they made? How does that happen? He's unhappy about Carlisle. He's the most experienced one. He's the one who's been there, done that. He's accomplished it. He's proven. I don't really understand Creed's disapproval with it. I guess because he was not so great in Indiana in the early 2000s means that he doesn't trust him now in the early 2020s. But
that's like saying Andy Reid's not that good of a coach because he didn't win back in Philly. Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, he's different. He's grown, and so have the Pacers. You guys have matured. Now you're maturing together.
I don't know. I hope all Pacers fans don't think like Connor do, but if they do, that would explain why people don't want to play there. Like, y'all are unappreciative. Like, what do you want? What coach did you think was better suited than Carlisle? I was surprised he even got let go. or that they parted ways. Because he's a good coach, and I think that they were starting to build something special there, but they got to surround Luka with more talent. And, I mean, part of that probably falls on the coach, but part of that's on the GM. So, y'all chose to bring Porzingis in there. So, I don't know. I don't know how you can be mad at that. I think that's a good hire. I think it'll actually work out in their favor. They'll be a better team. Just the thing is, depending on, without knowing the players they'll have yet, I don't know if this, will put them over the top in any way. So, it really is going to keep the Pacers in the same mediocre spot. They'll be a 6 through 8 seed in the playoffs, never get a lottery pick, but they're not going to be winning anything. So I think it'll just hold them in the same spot.
Yep. I guess that's what Pacers fans are afraid of. But
I mean, you weren't going to get anything better with any other coach. So
right. I mean, Phil Jackson could come back with Michael Jordan in '96. I still don't think the Pacers are winning the East.
No, they're not.
I mean, no, the expectations are higher than the appreciativeness in Indiana. It's unfortunate.
It is.
Love the Celtics hire. I'm not going to go any further into it, but I love it. Just so everybody knows, I'm on the record.
I
love the hire.
I'm indifferent on that one. I don't know too much about the guy, but I mean, I've heard the things I've heard is good.
Yeah.
So.
Played and coached in the Pop system. Then got to spend a season with Joel Embiid. Then got to spend seasons with Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. So he knows stars. He knows what works. So now he's got to make it work for our stars, Tatum and Brown.
Yep. Well, we were just talking about expectations. And speaking of that, there are now going to be some high expectations starting in Tampa Bay with the Lightning going back to the Stanley Cup Finals. They have been pushing and pushing and pushing for one. They finally broke through last year, and they are now back. And they have a date with the Montreal Canadiens. As the Canadiens were the 4th seed in their own division. The Lightning were the 3rd seed in their own division. And here we are. We have them. That is set to tip off tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Time. So the Stanley Cup Finals will be underway tomorrow. I'll ask, who do you think is going to win this series? And what do you think will be the deciding factor for that team winning the series?
Yes, the kiss of death by me picking your team to win the Stanley Cup. I believe, and I don't want to jinx them, I believe the Lightning will win the series. Reason being, I think the Lightning are a better team. As good as Carey Price is for the Canadiens in goal, the Lightning have the better goalie. The Lightning are a deeper team. The Lightning are the experienced team, having won it last year. And the Lightning have the better overall players. There's nothing on paper that tells you the Canadiens should win this series, but there was nothing on paper that told you the Canadiens should have won the last series or the series prior. So it's very – I guess what I'm saying is it's hard to pick against the Canadiens, but I'm going to do it because I believe in the Lightning that much, right? Braden Point, sensational. He's going to win the Conn Smythe trophy for the Lightning. Guy turns it up in the playoffs. And fitting with a name like Point, he has at least one in just about every game, it feels like. Most times more. He really turns it up. I'm a little bit worried, as we saw against the Islanders, I believe in Game 6. At the end of Game 6, Nikita Kucherov got banged up. He sat out the entire regular season knowing the Lightning were going to get to the playoffs, knowing he'd show up, he'd play well in the postseason. So predetermined sitting out of the season to get healthy for this moment. And now he's not healthy. Now they've made it here. He's not healthy now. Concerning a little bit, but the Lightning are such a deep team, such a talented team. I've got to rock with them. I'm going with them. I'm going with them in 6. I want to see them win it in Montreal. Mostly I want to see Montreal's fans' reaction to a Canadian team getting so close yet so far from Lord Stanley's trophy yet again. So there's sort of my whole spiel. but I'm going Lightning in 6. I like the Canadiens team. I like Toffoli. I like Caulfield. It's saying he was playing in the Frozen Four for Wisconsin just earlier this year. Now he's in the Stanley Cup Finals. That's amazing. So, hats off to those guys. And for them making it this far, it's been really incredible to watch. I don't think any of us really gave them a shot against Montae's Knights.
Oh.
And so I'm not going to overlook them in the Stanley Cup Finals. You just got to rock with the guys. Tampa Bay, it's kind of title town right now. You feel me? I mean, the only team that's played in Tampa Bay and hasn't gone to a championship are the Toronto Raptors. It's been 17 months. Every time Tampa Bay's had a chance to go to a championship, they have, until the team from Canada came down and played their place. So Canadians aren't winning in Tampa. I'm sticking with that.
Should have came to
this
Kansas
series.
City.
Hey, maybe they would have made the postseason at least.
We just had a team in a championship.
Yes, we did. Don't talk about baseball. We won't talk about baseball, but
they won't be doing that. There's a reason I'm on a 5-year plan because we'll get into them in a minute. It's gonna be a very short MLB section this week because that is depressing. But I hear you. But I'm gonna go with them. I'm stuck with. I think Canada's gonna do it. This is a bizarre year. It was obviously a shortened season. You only played teams within your division all season long. Just like this NBA playoffs has been bizarre. The normal teams, the normal players that we're accustomed to seeing down the stretch are not in it. I think the Canadians are no different. I think they're going to do this, and believe it or not, I think they're going to do this at home. I think they're going to win this series in 6. They're going to win this at home. It's going to be an insane environment. Normally, I would never really root for Canada over the United States. But Tampa Bay literally just won, and what a story Montreal has been. Just the way they've battled. Won their first series in 7, then swept Winnipeg, and then found themselves beating Montae's Knights in 6 as well. When that could have easily gone to 7, if they weren't careful. Just their resiliency, I think, is what's gonna put them over it. I really think they're gonna steal one of these first 2 in Tampa Bay. They're gonna go home. Their fans are gonna will them to some victories. Tampa Bay will say a floating Game 5, and then I think they're gonna bring it home. So, I'll be happy for them for 1 year. In a year that was shortened and not traditional, they can have that trophy. Because next year, my Rangers are coming for it.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's important. Yeah, I guess it's important to have confidence. I guess. If the Canadians win,
we should have made the playoffs.
If they win the Stanley Cup Finals, they will be the first Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup Finals since 1993, when the Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup Finals. By the way, I don't feel bad for this franchise. They have the most ever. A lot of them came before our parents were born, but I mean, yeah, it's been a long, long time since a Canadian team has won. We actually just saw back-to-back champions, 2016, 2017, in the NHL with the Pittsburgh Penguins winning back-to-back. So the drought for Canada has been longer than the drought for American teams going back-to-back. So, no, I've got no problem with you cheering for them. Obviously, I'm looking forward to an exciting series. I hope it's a long series. I would love if it went 7.
Yeah,
the Lightning Islanders series went 7, and it was amazing. The reaction afterwards from Islanders fans that I saw on social media, the Barstool guys that ran the restaurant, they opened up for every Islanders game. I mean, just great reactions from everybody. And Tampa Bay was rocking. They were rocking. It's kind of a hockey town. Well, they're kind of an all-sports town right now.
Yeah, they're now.
But, yeah, seeing a Game 7 in Tampa with the Cinderella story versus the defending champs, It's like a movie script being set up. So
Yeah. We shall see. It's gonna be interesting. I'm definitely excited to see what's gonna happen.
yep, and no Montae talking about the Stanley Cup Finals to us anymore.
He was definitely salty when we were with him when they lost. He was definitely salty, trying to bring up our teams.
Yeah.
Like, listen. I wasn't in it for 1 year. I'm a Rangers fan till the end, baby. I wasn't in it just for this year. So the way I see it, none of our teams won the championship. We're starting over next year. It's a clean slate.
Yep.
Let's get it going. I'm psyched. And I'm pretty sure we fired our coach. So
yeah. Made a good hire though.
Yeah, that's what I've read. I have us on Bleacher Report. I get all our notifications. So we got rid of our coach and hired some dude. Obviously, I have no idea who. I'm not that versed in the.
Oh, also a weird story too in the Stanley Cup. The Canadians haven't had their head coach because he tested positive for COVID. So
yeah, even more added fuel. We're winning this.
They have not. Their head guy. He'll be back for Game 3, and I cannot wait for the puns because his last name is Ducharme. So if they're like down 2-0 and they come back and win the series, the puns that are going to be made out of this guy's name that I hear Bucci Gras say all over SportsCenter for like the ensuing week. Oh, I can't wait.
Ducharme, he's the charm.
But it's Lightning in 6 though. Lightning in 6.
Canadians in 6.
We're a house divided.
Yeah. You know, I want to divide my house after the performance that the Royals have put on.
Oh, my God.
Gosh, how the tables have turned. We are now currently sitting in dead last of the AL Central. We are that bad now. Originally, it was like we're not as bad as the Tigers. When we were playing horrible baseball, at least we're not as bad as the Twins, and at least we're not as bad as the Tigers. We are now as bad as the Twins and Tigers. We just got destroyed by the Rangers, and they're not even good.
No. In fact, they're 18
they're last in their division.
500.
Yeah, they're last in their own division.
Yeah. The Royals, not fun to talk about at the moment.
We have
not a good time in the kingdom. Great times in the minor leagues for our guys, but until we call them up, it'll only be fun for those guys in the minor leagues.
Yeah, they're doing all right.
Yeah, they do. Bobby Witt did get upgraded to the best prospect in baseball I saw on the latest report. Now that Wander Franco's moved up for the Rays, the Royals do have what one publication at least is saying is the best prospect in baseball. And at the current rate that we're going, we will likely see him this year.
Yeah,
so we're finding these silver linings. And another team that might be looking for silver linings here pretty soon, your Yankees.
At this rate, we're not going to the playoffs.
Swept by the Red Sox for the second time this year in as many series. 0-6 this year against the Sox. Not ideal for Yankees fans. Had Montae been here, he would have had the opposite. The Padres, they swept the Dodgers. They've been beating up the Dodgers all year.
They're still behind them.
They're still behind because the Dodgers beat the not Padres. They just don't beat the Padres.
Not Padres. They beat all the Madres.
Oh, man. Oh, that's not.
You Dodgers. You Madre beaters.
The Case Dodgers, more like it. No, they're good guys. They're good peoples out there. At least from what we know. If something comes out about a Dodgers player, I didn't have any insider info. But as far as I know, they're good people in LA. And yeah, I mean they just beat a series, or they won the series over the Cubs. They just can't beat the Padres. I don't know if this is just a familiarity thing at this point. They've played so many times, and I feel like they just believe that, oh man, like the Padres, they're. And I don't think it would happen to the World Series champions, but you kind of start getting in your mind when you start playing the same team and losing to them over and over again. And I kind of fear for it with the Yankees and the Red Sox, as we need the Red Sox to start losing some games because they just recently passed up the Rays in the division. But yeah, a little bit nervy times for those teams in rivalry games. So you got to start getting some off of them. But
they're embarrassing right now. I don't know what their deal is. Now they have the Angels coming up. I mean, there's some opportunities. They have the Angels, and they have a tough battle with the Mets. Then they play Seattle, which is doable, and then it's Houston after that. So definitely two at least favorable opponents in their next 4 series. And the Angels one is a 4-game series too. So that's a big chance to get a leg up. But the Yankees, the defense, I don't understand what it is. Because one day it's defense. We're just giving up runs left and right. The next day we lose a game that's 2-1. Just our bats just do not come alive. I don't know what it is about this team right now.
The duality of the Yankees. Yeah,
it's a mess,
and it's pretty funny too, because we're talking about the Yankees right now in a dire situation. They're 3 games over 500. They're 4th in the division. It's only because the division is so good that they're 4th in this division. Because we could be talking about Connor's favorite team that went 1-3 against the Pirates, who, believe it or not, after winning 3 of those 4 against the Cardinals, are still worse than even the Rangers. So you could be the Cardinals. And we talk about these guys all the time. You know, the Cardinals and the Yankees. You hear about our favorite teams. There's only one thing that I want to talk about in the MLB, and that's the horrible week that Jacob deGrom had. Jacob deGrom, he made a start this week, and he allowed 2 earned runs. 2. That's his most in a game on the season. Jacob, figure it out, my guy. Figure it out. deGrom, you come back, you give up 2. What kind of performance is this? His ERA skyrocketed. He was at 0.5. He's at 0.69 now. It's a nice ERA, don't get me wrong.
I am so dead.
But it jumped up 19 points.
Yeah, Jacob deGrom, if you happen just to stumble upon our podcast, don't stand for this slander. You've had an amazing season.
Jacob deGrom is on pace to not just beat the all-time best ERA mark, but he's going to shatter it. I mean, the all-time mark was Bob Gibson. I believe he was in the 1.1s. What I was reading is that if deGrom has a normal, his normal 6-inning outings for the rest of the year, he could allow 20 more earned runs and break the record. And right now, I believe through this point, we're nearing the halfway point of the season. I believe he is at 8 earned runs. That's ridiculous. I believe deGrom. Yeah, I believe deGrom is going to break this record. Right now, he has 122 strikeouts, 11 walks on the year. So command's not an issue. Per hour pitches of any pitcher in the majors by close to 300 pitches. I mean, the guy is just the best pitcher I've ever seen in my lifetime. What he's doing right now is better than any pitcher I've ever seen in my lifetime at any point in their career. And I actually had this debate with Connor, who said prime Clayton Kershaw was better than deGrom is right now. But I just can't remember a time that I knew a pitcher was going out and I knew the other team was pretty much at most going to put up 1 run on him. It's like, you're going to be lucky to scratch across the run against the starting pitcher. That's how good he is. You feel lucky if you can get a run off him. And so when he gave up 2, I was like, whoa. Like
he's given up 6 earned runs on the year.
6 earned runs. My mistake. I thought it was 8. My mistake. I have shortchanged this man. He gives up 2 runs in a game, and I start just short selling the guy.
You're out of hand now. Now you're out of pocket. You've gone off the rails. Goodness.
Oh my goodness! His only start this year with multiple earned runs allowed in a game.
Yeah, man. Points.
That's stuff.
Point
That's the
six
stuff.
nine. That don't
That's
even.
the stuff you do on the show when you put it on like the easiest level.
Yeah, even then, I don't know about that. That's ridiculous. 0.69.
Bro, just
Yeah.
he's built different.
Yes, he's from the land, Florida. So that's how it is. It's the land, Florida.
The land of great pitchers.
I guess so. He's only 33 as well, so he's got some time.
Yes, he does.
Got some time. But now, what it is time for is us to reveal our top cornerbacks. We are right around the hour mark here, and it is time to get that going. As I've been waiting to do this for a while. I'm super excited. This is gonna after doing each position, and then doing the coaches. It should get us right up until the start of the NFL season. So we will be right there. Montae obviously was not able to join us on this week's podcast, but he did text. He did text his list into me, so I will have that. Yeah, he gave me a list 1 through 10, but gave me a long explanation for why number 1. So I'll make sure to get that on there. But first, before I do that, I have to read. Pay our respects to CBS. That's how we kind of got this thing going. So I'll read their list off first. The guy who took over the reins this year was Patrick Walker, writer for CBS Sports. He came up with his list, and then I'll read his just missed outside the top 10 list as well at the very end, because he has a first out, his 11 through 20 unranked. But his top 10 starts off with, he has J.C. Jackson of the New England Patriots, Denzel Ward of the Browns, Marcus Peters of the Ravens, Marshawn Lattimore of the Saints at 7, Marlon Humphrey at 6 for the Ravens, Stephon Gilmore 5 of the Patriots, Xavier Howard 4 of the Dolphins, at 3 Tre'Davious White of the Bills, number 2 Zaire Alexander of the Packers, and number 1 he has Jalen Ramsey of the Los Angeles Rams. So that is what he had. I personally thought that was a pretty solid list. I have a little bit of a different order, but I'll read off Montae since he's not here to explain. Montae started off with, I'll just go from 10 to 1 just to kind of give you. So for his 10, he has Kyle Fuller of the Denver Broncos, Denzel Ward at 9, Byron Jones, new name there for the Dolphins, at 8, Marshawn Lattimore at 7, Marlon Humphrey at 6, Stephon Gilmore at 5, Xavier Howard 4, Tre'Davious White 3, Zaire Alexander 2, and then his explanation for why Jalen Ramsey is number 1 is no room for debate. He is hands down the best corner in the league, does it all, covers the top receiver, and travels all over the field to do so. So it is not even up for discussion. For Montae, Jalen Ramsey is hands down number 1. That is the second number 1 vote in Jalen Ramsey's favor. So I'll let you read yours off, and then I'll go with mine.
I agree with Montae. There is no debating that number 1 spot. Jalen Ramsey's my number 1. But going from 10, agreed with CBS. J.C. Jackson for the Patriots is my number 10. New name at number 9. I've got James Bradbury of the New York Giants at number 9. Denzel Ward, number 8 for the Browns. Marshawn Lattimore at 7. I've got Humphrey at 6. I got a little different order here, top 5. I've got Trey White at 5.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Jair Alexander 4. I have Stephon Gilmore at 3. Xavier Howard I've got at 2. And, of course, Jalen Ramsey number 1. As Montae said, no room for debate.
Wow. We were almost spot on. So before we kind of break it down, so my top 10 At 10, I actually had Marcus Peters at 10.
See, Marcus Peters was my 11. Yeah, I really struggled.
And J.C. Jackson was my 11. James Bradbury, I had at 9, just like you did. Denzel Ward was 8 for me. Marshawn Lattimore at 7. Marlon Humphrey at 6. Tre'Davious White at 5. Now I had Stephon Gilmore at 4. Xavier Howard at 3. Jair Alexander 2. And yes, no room for debate, Jalen Ramsey at number 1. Ours was neck and neck. My reasoning for this is I still think, as great as a season as Xavier Howard did, I think he benefited a lot from having Byron Jones, who did not make my top 10 list. He made Montae's, but I think he benefited a lot from Byron Jones coming over from Dallas last year and being a guy who kind of follows around the number 1 receiver from time to time. So I think that since he was able to kind of do his thing, and he had a down year for his standards, but just it's harder, even though he was having a bad year, it's still, you don't want to throw the ball over there too often because, I mean, he's putting it in harm's way. So I think Xavier Howard really benefited off of that. And their defense as a whole was good. Like, Miami had a really solid defense. I think Jair Alexander is just a standout on a – not that the Packers defense is bad, but their secondary definitely could use some work. And I think that he shines on a just all right secondary, and he still is able to elevate them to a different level, whereas Howard, I think, is great in his own right, but is, to me, just a little bit more of a product of his defense in total, but he's still individually great, which is why he was number 4 or 3 for me. So that's the only reason why I would have switched those.
Yeah. See, because and we talked about this last year when we had cornerbacks. We sort of talked about a difference in what we looked for. Because I like the playmakers, sometimes even more than the preventers. Last year we had the big Marcus Peters debate, which is kind of funny. You had him on your list this year,
mine now,
and I did not. Yeah, but I just love what Howard produced. I mean, 101 targets, 20 were pass deflections, 10 were interceptions. When they threw the ball that way, 48.3 passer rating was the lowest of any quarterback in football when they faced him. And I get, having Byron Jones was definitely a help. But I wasn't going to let it influence it too much because I don't let, having Marcus Peters influence the way I think about Humphrey or having Gilmore influence the way I thought about J.C. Jackson, so on and so forth. In fact, I seriously considered not in top 10, but Darius Williams, the other cornerback for the Rams, I seriously considered him as like a top 15 cornerback in the league after the year he had last year. And I don't think it would take away too much from Ramsey. So, yeah, I mean, we just have a difference in, sort of the way of looking at it. I just like that 3 of every 10 passes that go Howard's way, he gets a hand on. That's an unreal number. That is an, absolutely unreal number. And I do like Alexander a whole bunch. I mean, 51% completion percentage against him when he's the nearest defender is pretty much as good as you could ask for.
Yeah.
If you complete 50% of passes in a game, the internet trolls are out to get you as a quarterback. So if you're a cornerback and you only allow 50%, that's, yeah, you've done the good stuff. And, by the way, I like that Alexander elevates his game in the postseason when a lot of the other Packers defensive backs, as we know, did not elevate their game. Jair Alexander actually outdid his interception total from the regular season in the postseason in attempts to make up for the Kevin King incidents in the postseason.
Pathetic performance.
It was very pathetic. I'm glad that you included James Bradbury.
Yes,
the
I
Giants.
Say that. So this is a new name. So I think one person had Byron Jones last year. Obviously, neither one of us did, and nor did the CBS guy, but Montae added him. But James Bradbury is a new name that's been mentioned on here, as well as Denzel Ward. I don't think.
Yeah, I was on.
Oh,
yeah,
was
see, I believed in Ward last year. Yeah, I thought he was. Yeah, I've always thought he was.
I couldn't remember if anyone chose him or not. But yeah, James Bradbury for sure was a new name. I mean, dude was a beast last year. I mean, there's just no way about it. He's pretty good. I mean, he had a number of solo tackles, which I liked. He was very good at tackling. Had 3 interceptions, 18 passes defended, and he forced a couple fumbles as well. Had a fumble recovery as well. I mean, dude can do it all. And they're about to get a Dory Jackson too. If he's in, as a Titans fan, I know when Dory Jackson's healthy, he's really, really good. So I think that's gonna adding him to that as well. Their secondary is gonna be nice, man. He's nice. He's a guy you can feel comfortable with throwing on a number one, and he'll go to work. I was really impressed with James Bradbury.
I agree. I think the key, because I was in this situation where I was thinking about 4 guys really from 9 to 12. I was thinking about Bradbury, Jackson, Marcus Peters, and Joe Hayden for the Steelers. I was still big on Joe Hayden, even though he's getting a little older, but still liked him. But Bradbury, the thing that sticks out most, I think, and I don't watch a ton of Giants games, but you see enough and you hear enough to know that he is the consistent one on defense. Like a lot of these other guys, you can point to moments and they've got great moments, but Bradbury's just very consistent. He goes out there, he does what's asked of him. He'll make plays every now and then, but he's just very consistent. And in a day and age when you can be, so up and down as a corner. Just watch Marcus Peters week to week, when you can go from the highest of highs, 2 picks, a pick 6, no passes completed on you, to the next week you've allowed 115 yards to one receiver. It's to have a model of consistency within your defense. It's a huge help, and that's why Bradbury makes mine. That's why Ward made mine, and why Lattimore, I think, slipped a little bit on my list this year.
Yeah, he had a down year for his standards last year. So he was my number 2 last year.
Yeah.
I had a Jalen Ramsey.
Ooh, see, and Ramsey.
I had Gilmore, Lattimore, and Ramsey last year.
I know I had Gilmore at 1. I'm still very high on Gilmore. I think people forget with the injury that happened last year, and the only play people remember about last year with Gilmore is DK Metcalf pulling the ball away from him. And that was pretty vicious. But Lattimore, 94.5 passer rating against, 7 touchdowns allowed. Not his best work. Still an outstanding player. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He's in his 4th year in the league. So
yeah, he's doing just fine. I also want to do this list too that Patrick Walker had for his first out. For the people, this was in no order, he said, but the people who just missed his list was, of course, James Bradbury was number 1 on that, followed by Byron Jones of the Dolphins, Desmond Trufant of the Bears, Chris Harris Jr. of the Chargers. He had William Jackson III for Washington football team, Kyle Fuller, who was on Montae's list for the Broncos, Darius Williams of the Rams, who you mentioned a little bit earlier, Mike Hilton of the Bengals, Kenny Moore of the Colts, and Patrick Peterson of the Minnesota Vikings. That would have been his next 10 after. Which I agree with a lot of those names on the list. I still think Richard Sherman belongs in there. I think he's still a top 20 corner in this league. I know he's a free agent at the moment, but he definitely will be a key asset to a team that most likely can go to a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl. So I think he's a key addition. That's someone I would add. I think Jack Rabbit's nice, man. I think Jack Rabbit belongs in that top 20 discussion. That's my dog.
Yeah, he had a good year last year.
Yeah, even on I know he's a Titan now, but beyond that, he's good. He is good. And he's risky. He takes risks. But so does Marcus Peterson. He's on here, so.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think he's a playmaker, obviously. Under 60% completion percentage against for Jenkins last year. Yeah, he's solid. And I think for a Titans defensive backfield that lost everybody but Byard, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to bring in a veteran guy like that to mentor the young Caleb Farley.
Yeah, and for those who know, Janoris Jenkins is who I mean when I say Jack Rabbit. That's his nickname.
Yeah. And, I mean, obviously, we didn't include any rookies. I wanted to ask you right now, do you think that by this time next year, when we talk about cornerbacks again, do you think there's any rookie cornerbacks that we might be talking about? Because there's one for me that I don't know. We haven't even seen him play. They're not even gone through preseason games. But there's one that I'm thinking about right now. I'm thinking, like, this guy could be a star. But I wanted to know what you thought.
Well, it depends on who you're saying. I mean, my team. J.C. Horn, is that who you're talking about?
J.C. Horn is exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah, J.C. Horn's that dude. Like, I think he's gonna be phenomenal.
I do too.
I was college roommates with his brother. Used to watch South Carolina games with his brother all the time when we weren't playing. I mean, I don't know J.C. Horn, but I know his family. You know, I've watched him very close. To that I knew from the time he made when he was a true freshman making his very first career start, he was gonna be a star. And he's gonna be good. I definitely can see him being like in discussion for this list. I still think that as great as J.C. Horn is and as great as Surtain is, I still think Caleb Farley is the best pure talent at corner from this past draft. I think he just has the fundamentals as a corner, but his main thing is health, and that's going to be the thing. If he stays healthy, he has the tools because he has the speed, he has the cover skills. Dude can adapt, change the directions, unbelievable. So yeah, I mean, and Surtain, of course, as well. Would be no surprise of mine if he was on this list as well, sometime next year. So those three dudes, which ironically, I mean, they were the top three corners taken. But I mean, I think, there's a reason for that. I think all three of them easily are Pro Bowl caliber players and definitely can be in this conversation.
Yep, I agree. And Eric Stokes will be the starting Packers cornerback alongside Jair Alexander. By middle of the season, I'm going to say they get fed up with some of their other who are supposed to be promising cornerbacks.
King better not even be on the team anymore after that.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's going to surpass King. I think he's going to surpass Josh Jackson on that depth chart pretty quickly. But I don't know if he'll be up to the level that these guys are. I love the cornerback tandems that we're getting around the league too. Some great cornerback duos.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been an even harder list, I think, to list who's the best duo.
No, I mean, Fuller's about to start playing with Surtain, so
yeah, you'd have to think it's got to be Ravens or Rams, right? Ravens, Rams, Patriots.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are really high on the Colts too. They really like Kenny Moore and Rhodes.
And Xavier Rhodes.
I'm not too big on Rhodes. I think he gets picked on a lot, but because of that though, he gets a lot of interceptions because he gets picked on and thrown at. So it's kind of a give and take type of thing. But
yeah, it's actually interesting that he had the lower passer rating against
the Dolphins as well.
Yes, the Dolphins. The Dolphins' defensive backfield's good. I expect Byron Jones to bounce back. I'd say a pretty solid list on all of our parts.
Yeah.
I think Montae snuck in a little bias there with Kyle Fuller going at 10. That's all right. That's all right. I put my guy at 10, so
yeah.
I've got no problems with it. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Connor's list. As he said, Richard Sherman was a bottom 10 cornerback. That's the most. That's the most we heard about cornerbacks from Connor.
That's what little he knows.
Yeah, being a Vikings fan, he probably doesn't want to talk cornerbacks really. He'd talk Peterson, put Brashad Breeland in his top 10.
That's so bad. But yeah, so that'll do it at least for this. Next week we're going to be doing the tight ends. So we have after they're all fresh off of tight end university, what they had. So we'll go there first. We'll go to the tight end.
We'll be watching the tape from tight end U.
Yeah,
to get ready for it.
most definitely, that looks really entertaining. And honestly, now I guess tight ends because there's not so many of them on a team that you can actually do that with. And I don't think they literally had every single tight end. They just had a select group. But I think that would be really interesting if they did that for like wide receivers. Dude, those guys' personalities Oh,
I
and
don't think they
like,
get along very well.
dude, that would be something else. There'd be a lot of betting going on for like the upcoming season. Quarterbacks would be very interesting too. There's a lot of egos in there as well.
It was weird though, is I feel like
They would be friends. I think everyone would get along.
I think being in a
But
position group
even like
is like
Brady and Rodgers, like they obviously both have incredible respect for each other. They both call each other the GOATs. And they both like come out and say each other is the best. But deep down,
no, D-back's not going to do that.
no, bro. Receivers and defensive backs, they're not hyping each other up like that. Nah, dog, I'm the best.
We actually, I think the receivers are the only position that I've seen where you can go to him in the offseason and be like, this guy said he was better than you. What do you say?
Yeah.
Oh, he's tripping. I mean, Keenan Allen was saying it last year. Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins responds with emojis every time. Oh, yeah.
Mike Evans and Tyreek Hill was like, yeah, they're maybe faster than me, but they're not better than me. Dude, that would be so entertaining.
Yeah. Theirs will be insane. Receivers will be insane. I think defensive backs will be insane. But they should do it. I think they should take – because I've got my top 25 guys listed out right here. I think they should take all those 25 guys, just let them hang out for a weekend like they're at summer camp.
Something tells me that would not end too well for someone or someones.
No. Whoever makes the first joke about Ramsey, that's fisticuffs. Fisticuffs by the lake. Meet me at the docks.
Yeah, these dudes are going to be going off, so. Yeah, so we'll leave it at that. That's our first list. Not bad by CBS. Got to give them props.
Yeah, my guy in there. Yes, sir, JC.
Yeah, Patrick, that was Patrick Walker of CBS Sports. So shout out to him. He had a good list. I don't
Congrats,
know.
Pat.
I don't know who did it last year, but may God have mercy on their soul. But that was only one list. We got plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty more.
I'm sure we'll find some that do not tickle our fancy.
In no way, shape, or form. But, hey, real quick, before we get into our rapid speed, we do have to talk about one thing real quick and keep this segment a little short. How about the country of Belgium advancing in the Euro 2020? They took out the former defending champs, Portugal, led by Cristiano Ronaldo. Did not obviously have his best showing today. Had a couple free kick chances, was not able to capitalize on them. Portugal really dominated the entire second half, had so many shots, and failed to reach the net one time, whereas Belgium was able to outlast them. And they got a goal late in the first half and rolled that 1-0 lead all the way to the end.
By the other Hazard.
Yes. Not by Eden, but by his brother.
Thorgan,
yeah. I know it was somewhat T. Yeah, Thorgan Hazard with the game winner. A bit of concern, though, as my boy Kevin De Bruyne did have to leave the game early as he got absolutely destroyed. Someone kicked his leg while running from behind and jacked up his ankle. So he had to leave the game early. And then it looked like Eden Hazard, who's the team's captain, looked like he pulled his hamstring in like the 88th minute of the game. So for the two stars that they have, both got injured in that game. So they're definitely going to need to be resting up as much as they can.
Oh, the disrespect to Lukaku. Only two stars they have.
I said one of the two stars that they have.
Okay.
I worded that wrong. Two of the stars that they have. No, Lukaku is great. I would consider Courtois a star as well.
Yeah, I do too.
So no, that they have plenty. I mean, there's a reason why they're currently ranked number 1 by the FIFA rankings. But I've been pulling for Belgium for, I'd say, a better of about 5 years now to get a major trophy. They were so close last Euros, and they lost in the semifinals, one game away, and then they were in the semifinals of the World Cup and also lost, but then they did win the third place game. So they were in fourth, they were in third, I'm hoping they can just skip being second place this year and go straight to first, bring home a trophy. Their players deserve it. A lot of great talent on that team, so we'll see there. But for the other games, we've only had just a couple. We're still only halfway through the knockout stages. Denmark absolutely murdered Wales, in which could be Gareth Bale's last major tournament for his country of Wales. But Denmark won 4-0 in that game, and Italy was able to take down Austria 2-1 after it seemed like an upset was brewing, and Italy was able to snag 2 goals in very quick fashion to win that game in advance. So Italy will be playing Belgium, and Denmark will be going up against the Czech Republic after they startle the Netherlands in a 2-0 victory there. Red card by Delight. Unfortunately, hit the ball with his hand, and that was an instant red card for him. So Netherlands had to play down a man for a majority of the game, and the Czech Republic and Denmark will be playing with a chance to go to the semifinals. Who in the world could ever saw that?
Yes, sir. And we're pulling for Denmark.
We are. I 100% am.
Yeah. What a story that would be if they won. To do it for their boy, Eriksson.
What would be crazy is I doubt that they will let him, but it'd be crazy if he got healthy enough and could play again. That would be insane.
Yeah.
I think they'll win this next game, so they'll be buying him some time to get healthy if that's on the cards for him. I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but I think that'd be really cool to see him be able to come back. Even if it wasn't for like a full game, just come on as a sub, play a few minutes.
I agree. Well, yeah, obviously, pretty.
Take care of his health first.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if the doctor only if the doctor.
Of course. We listen to doctors around here.
We do. And the other half that hasn't yet to play. So coming up on Monday, it'll be Croatia, the team that was the runner-up in the last World Cup, will be going against the former world dominant Spain, as they don't look so world dominant anymore these days. But they did have a very impressive game last time out. They won 5-0. So that's going to be a dogfight there, and 2 major countries colliding. And then France, the World Cup champions, will be going up against Switzerland. And then on Tuesday, we have England going up against Germany, 2 of the biggest heavyweights in all of soccer going at it.
The battle of my heritage.
Yeah, Toby's going to be pulling out his hair in that game. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. And then the other one to round out the knockout stage will be, or the first round of the knockout stage will be Sweden and Ukraine. So that one, I'll just admit I'm not excited.
Hey, Sweden.
If Zlatan was playing for Sweden, that would be pretty dope.
Hey, Sweden won the group Spain was in. That's all I'm saying.
They did. So. Listen, I'm not saying they're not good. I'm not as excited to watch them.
It's pretty crazy that it lined up that way, where we're going to get Portugal, Belgium, and England, Germany playing the first round. We got a Sweden-Ukraine matchup because Sweden won their group. and Ukraine got through as one of the teams that finished third and advanced.
And now we have Denmark and the Czech Republic. One of those 2 teams are going.
Yeah,
automatically going to be going to the Final Four and with a chance to be in the final.
Yeah, no, Netherlands should have prevented that. Had Delight not.
Imagine if Austria would have won.
Oh, yeah. Had Austria won. It was kind of like that last year. I remember when Iceland made their big run.
Oh, man. And Wales, too.
Yeah, and Wales. Yep, the Bale story's over now, though. But
yeah, he's not so good for him. But, yeah, so that'll do. I want to give us a little update on that. And, of course, in Copa America, too, that is also going on. Argentina currently sits on top of on their side of the bracket, as they have 7 points. They're followed by Paraguay, then Chile, Uruguay, and Bolivia. And then on the other side with Group B, Brazil has actually already won their group with 10 points. and they're followed by Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, and Venezuela was eliminated. The top 4 teams on each side are advancing, so there's still a couple more games to be played, as I believe Argentina takes on Bolivia tomorrow, and Paraguay and Uruguay take on each other. So it's a big game in terms of seeding for Uruguay and Paraguay, but Argentina has already advanced and Bolivia is already eliminated, so that game means literally nothing. But yeah,
For Bolivia, it's just about not going home without a single point.
Yeah, they need to finish strong.
I do not think this is the team they'll do it against.
No. Argentina's gonna. I shouldn't say what they're gonna do because they are mind-blowing. But they'll probably kill them.
You would have to think.
All right. And so now we're going to use this as a transition over to our rapid-fire takes, as I'm not even going to give us a time this time. I'm just going to let it roll.
Yeah, our times have been embarrassing. They've been really embarrassing. I do want to say I watched PTI, and Kornheiser and Wilbon were both off the show. Mm-hmm. So it was Mina Kimes and the funny-looking Italian guy. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. But they were on the show. They ran so far behind, they didn't even do 2 segments. And the last one is always just give your prediction for the big game that night, whether it's the NBA playoff game or the Stanley Cup game or whatever it is. They didn't even get to that. So I just want to say they're pros, and we're getting there. So, don't judge us for our times the past few times, because I just watched pros not handle it. So
I like it.
You gotta be Kornheiser and Wilbon to get that in. Those guys are insane. Props to them. Come on the podcast sometime.
Please do. I'm gonna tag them. I'm gonna let them know.
They'd take over this podcast, and I'd be completely okay with it.
Yeah, no, those guys are the best. They are the best. But I'm gonna start ours. Let's do better than last time. All right, I'm gonna get this.
We've got to.
3, 2, 1. So I'm gonna start mine off with a little college football news. So LSU head coach Ed Orgeron is now a defendant in the Title IX case against LSU. There are claims saying Orgeron did not properly report a rape case against former star running back Darius Gaius. We know now has even been in further trouble as a member of the former member of the Washington football team. So not looking good. LSU as a whole, their former AD, their former head coach, who's been let go by KU, and now their current head coach, all involved. So no bueno there. And then sticking with college football, Nebraska's AD, Bill Moose, has retired. He has hired some unfortunate names to take over the football program for Nebraska. They are god-awful. So, yeah, it probably was time for him to go.
I'm going to go with a winner this time, not talking about Scott Frost and Nebraska's football program. Cyril Gahn, number 3 heavyweight in UFC, defeated Alexander Volkov this weekend in Fight Night, stayed unbeaten, 9-0 in his career, looking to get that title shot against Ngannou or maybe John Jones in the near future. In boxing, 2 huge bouts. Tank Davis, the guy is now a 3-division champion. 3 divisions, 3 different weight classes. This guy has a belt in him. Unbelievable. Gervonta Davis, now 26-0, one of the best young boxers in the world. One of the best old boxers in the world, Vasily Lomachenko, rebounded. He last lost to Teofimo Lopez. Knocked Masashi Nakatani, knocked him senseless. Lomachenko, he's ready. He's going to fight Teofimo Lopez again. Teofimo Lopez, of course, the youngest boxer to hold all 4 belts within his division, the undisputed lightweight champion of the world. Their fight coming up next, going to be absolutely insane. Good stretch of boxing coming up soon.
For college basketball, it has been announced that the Big 12 will be playing against the SEC as they normally do. The matchup for this season, or upcoming season, will be Kentucky visiting Kansas Jayhawks. Baylor will be going against Alabama. West Virginia will be playing at Arkansas. Oklahoma State up against the Gators. That'll be nice for our group. Mizzou will be taking on Iowa State. Kansas State will be heading over to Ole Miss. Oklahoma will be playing at Auburn. LSU will travel on the road to TCU. Tennessee will play at Texas, and Mississippi State will be playing at Texas Tech. And they will soon be announcing the Big Ten and Big East matchups later on.
In the world of golf this week, it's a pretty low-key week every week after a major is, unless you're Harris English and Kramer Hickok, who went the whole distance, tied, and then went into an 8-hole playoff. They almost played a whole nother front nine of golf to determine the winner. In the end, Harris English wins the 8-hole playoff. Rocket Mortgage Classic next week. The Open Championship coming up soon for more major moments and hopefully more DeChambeau meltdowns.
Yes, and so I'll go now over to tennis. The Wimbledon is starting up tomorrow. Big news there, as Connor's boy Novak Djokovic goes for tying the all-time major championship win. So he's going for a major record there. Roger Federer looks to tack onto his record as he has been incredible in this tournament. So this is a chance for him to add on to his incredible career. And then on the female side, or the women's side, Serena Williams is looking to solidify her 24th Grand Slam title, pretty much making her the GOAT at that point.
Yeah, only furthering it, of course. She's already the GOAT by a long shot. Yeah. I've got Djokovic winning, tying at the top, a 3-way tie. What a time that would be.
Yeah.
And then the world of college baseball, I got to wrap it up with it. I'm not happy with them, but we've had some great moments this week. First, Stanford eliminates Arizona. Texas, they bounce Tennessee. Stanford, they throw a wild pitch. They get eliminated. A walk-off wild pitch. Stanford, really? I thought you were the geniuses. Loses, lets Vanderbilt advance. They're going home. Texas, they take down Virginia. Virginia had a good run. You ate your Dippin' Dots. Now you're out of here. Texas Longhorns advanced. Then we had a great series. Texas and Mississippi State. Every game was fantastic. Texas hit an absolute bomb before the rains came down, postponed the game until 1 a.m. They went out. They played the last 6 outs at 1 a.m. in the morning Central Time. Texas beat them. Mississippi State came back. They had another chance. Each team, one loss. Mississippi State, of course, walked it off. What an insane game in what was my national championship. Mississippi State winning the game, and Vanderbilt, the fraud finalist, get the walkover over NC State, of course. The fraud finalists did not earn their way there through play. Were given a walkover like this was some tennis match where NC State got hurt, given the walkover. And from here on out, it's go Dogs. Hail State.
Go Dogs.
Let's go, baby.
The beginning.
Do not let the frauds win it. We're against frauder-built fraudadors. We're about the dogs over here. It was going to be that way. I was cheering for Texas on Saturday, but I'm cheering for Mississippi State extremely hard. Right. Just 48 hours later.
You were the Seattle fan, had the Viking jersey on. They kicked the field goal and missed it. No. Yeah.
That is how it be. Just so long as Vanderbilt doesn't win, man. I mean, I saw them beat my Wolverines in the last College World Series. There was no foul play there. They were just better. This year, some real shady stuff's going down between the NCAA and Vanderbilt, giving Tim Corbin a handy under the table. And now – no, I'm not going to – I'm very upset about it still. I'm still pretty upset, but we're rolling with the dogs, Hail State. I believe they will win the series. Because Vanderbilt does not scare me. They didn't earn their way here. So as far as I'm concerned, they still have to beat somebody to go to a championship. And if they do win, huge asterisks. Astro-size asterisks. Okay, not that big. A little bit smaller asterisks.
They didn't do anything. That's the NCAA.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't do anything this whole tournament. Now they're playing in the finals.
No.
They won on a walk-off against Arizona in the 12th inning. Good game. Arizona shouldn't have let it slip. Stanford literally throws a wild pitch for them to walk it off, shuts them down all game. Then in the 9th inning, they just decide to implode upon themselves. They get to play an NC State team. Oh, by the way, they lost NC State when they were fully healthy. I forgot to mention that part. Then NC State again, 5 guys starting positions they've never started before. They win the game by 2 with maybe the best pitcher in college baseball on the mound. Come on. That team is not legit.
Well,
Texas and Mississippi State was my national championship game.
Okay, well.
But I'm still going to watch, obviously. I'm pretty hypocritical, and I don't really follow through with those type of things, even when I get mad.
Yeah. So before you went on your little tangent at the end there, because I stopped the clock.
Yeah, they should have stopped the clock.
We were at 5 minutes and 40 seconds, which is actually not bad. That was a lot better than last week.
That is a lot better than last week.
Yeah.
And you had to read off a ton of matchups, too.
I did. So that was a lot better. And then you decided to say, nah, screw that. I'm going to talk 3 extra minutes.
Yeah, because, bro, Vanderbilt baseball is the equivalent of what Alabama football is, and we already discussed this, and Gannon is going to tell you that it's not the same because they haven't won as much, which is true, but they're the closest thing to Alabama football, if you get what I'm saying. They're the closest thing. They're the dynasty at the time. So when the shady stuff is going down in favor of them, they take out a small school like NC State that doesn't bring the big fan base there, and they put in Vanderbilt for them. Yeah, I was like, that's sketch. And it's just unfortunate, I would have been upset if it was Stanford, too. Those smart guys get enough their way already.
I guess so. But yeah, that rapid fire. That was good though. That was a lot better.
Yeah, I won't go on a rant next week, guys. As long as the NCAA doesn't do some dumb stuff next week, I will not be going on a rant.
Well, speaking of dumb stuff, you know what time it is. It is.
Oh, do I ever?
It is welcome to your Creed moment, our last segment of the day, and too many people out there acting like our main man Connor. We got to highlight it. So mine is very simple. My Creed goes straight up to Paul George. Shout out Paul George. Unclutch when you need him to. You ask him to do something, he's going to do the opposite. Couldn't be more of a Creed. I'm sorry. Could not be more of a Creed. I know you kind of drilled him. I wasn't really going to say too much about him in our NBA section because I knew he was going to be my Creed of this week. But hey, once you started going in on it, I had to chime in because –
Bro, he made me mad.
This is what he asked for. So, no, he is 100% my Creed because they had a chance to put the Suns away in Game 2. He misses not one but both free throws, which of course would lead to being so important as DeAndre Ayton slam dunks the game winner. Unbelievable. It's just too prime. And the fact that Connor still tries to defend Paul George back in Indiana is still funny as well to me. He got close. We lost, but he got close. Yep, that's the story of Paul George's career. He does a lot, and then
close but no cigar.
Close with no cigar. That is Connor, and that is Paul George.
Well, see, I'm gonna have to change mine a little bit now because I actually wrote down some figures. I went back and I watched the game last night, that 84-80 crap fest. Watched it, and I did some counting up in my little notebook here. And this is a Creed moment, and I actually have a second one after this. I actually have a double Creed moment, both NBA. This is from the 10:07 mark in the fourth quarter of the Suns and Clippers game to the 6:23 mark. The teams combined for 0 for 16 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3, 1 missed free throw, 5 turnovers. There were 0 points scored from 10:07 to 6:23 in an NBA playoff game. How does this relate to Creed? I've got to throw it way back. We're sophomores in high school. I'm the ref. And my friend Gannon and Connor are playing a one-on-one game that is not to a particular score or make it take it and is timed. This was the real deal.
We played 4 quarters.
They played 4 quarters of timed one-on-one basketball with a ref. To let you know what we were up to in sophomore year.
Yeah.
But this is why it's a Creed moment. Because when Creed plays basketball, Dr. James Naismith, who's buried just over in Kansas, turns in his grave. And as James Naismith watched that display of basketball, while we just sat in my house drinking beers, waiting to drink, I said I was going to drink for every Reggie Jackson make. I was sober at the end of the night. I could have drove. At a certain point, I started drinking for 8 players to make it, just so somebody would. And they never did. James Naismith was turning over in his grave, watching that display of basketball. That was a tough watch. That was like WNBA levels of tough watch.
Oh.
Okay. The WNBA has its good moments.
You didn't have to.
It has its bad moments too. But we know the games. But we know the games are lower scoring.
Yeah.
But that's because they're so good at defense, right, ladies? Saved it. And my other Creed moment, I'll do one. I guess since Montae's not here, this will be his.
Real quick before you announce that one, I don't even know what kind of run I went on Connor in that game, but I beat Connor by over 80 points.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. To be fair, Gannon did beat him by 80 points. The basketball was bad. It wasn't
On
good.
Connor's part.
Well, all your points came because you just went around him.
That's not my fault. Because I can.
By the way, Connor went on an 11-0 run in that game.
No.
There was 2 technical fouls.
Yeah, how did you get a technical foul in a one? I'm not even going to get into that. Just do your. How do you get a technical foul in a one-on-one game? And when are the free throws either? That's also so dumb.
Bro, you shot free throws too. He hacked your ass.
Yeah, he sure did.
I know he did.
Go ahead.
So my other one's got to go to my guy Jay Williams, who sent out a tweet after Ime Udoka was hired by the Celtics, and the tweet read, "First person of color to become the Celtics head coach." And a very quick Google search will tell you that is very false. Not only was he not the first,
What?
the Celtics had the first ever Bill Russell. By the way, who won the Celtics last championship? Doc Rivers.
Doc Rivers. What?
Casey Jones in between. They've had 5 coaches of color. The Boston Celtics have. Ime Udoka now makes them the team with the most ever. Jay Williams said the first ever. The tweet was very polite, respectful. It was just factually incorrect. He waited 4 hours, then went back and said, in regards to that Boston Celtics tweet, I did not tweet that, and I have reset my password, trying to claim that he was hacked. And I think we all know how this is a Creed moment, because when Creed is caught in just factually a lie, he refuses to take credit. He's like, well, I saw it somewhere. I just can't remember where. My favorite example, the Vikings and Bears, they're playing a Week 17 game. And Connor's telling us that the Bears are going to rest all their starters because they're already in the playoffs. They don't care that much if they're the 3 or the 4 seed in the playoffs. And he's trying to convince us of this. And, of course, we said there's been nothing that says the Bears are going to rest their players to let the Vikings win this game. He goes, yeah, some of their coordinators tweeted it out. So we go to look. The coordinators don't have Twitter. He's caught up at this point. He can't go in and fix himself now. He goes, no, I don't know. I saw it somewhere. Bro, Jay Williams, that's a Creed move.
Yeah, very.
Bro, that's just a very quick, before you do it, Google search. And also, you're an NBA analyst. Doc Rivers is in the postseason. You've been talking about him all week. Bro, you don't remember where he came from? Why he's got the chances he's got? Because he won a ring with the Celtics. And, bro, didn't you work with Paul Pierce?
Yeah. That's just so bad on so many levels.
Oh, my God. I just couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, I didn't know what to think. As a Celtics fan, I was like, is he trying to, call us out right now? Is he trying to say that we're, doing a racism? Because,
I'm just like,
we've had so many.
I did not know that. The second you said that, I'm just like, so does Doc Rivers just is he just the darkest white guy I've ever seen, or?
Dude, I don't know. Jay Will, that was tough. Yeah, that was very tough. Jay Will, you're the part 2 of my Creed moment. So everybody in the Suns and Clippers game for about 4 minutes, and Jay Williams,
including the coach.
Including the coaches in that game. Yeah.
What in the world is that?
They drew up some incredible defense.
No. They created some great lids on that basket is what they did. That was terrible.
They were lucky I was in the ref. I would have made one of them go on an 11-0 run with Tex.
just get to the free throw line. Just go. Someone got to score. Shoot.
I wouldn't send Paul George there, though. Can't send him there.
Oh.
Not in the fourth.
Oh. I'm gonna leave him alone though, because this is gonna turn to bad karma. Watch, he's gonna drop like 45 tomorrow, so I'm gonna leave Paul George alone. I need the Suns to go ahead and win that. So definitely, we've gone too long anyway on this episode, so I'm gonna wrap this up. No final takes this week, but definitely watch the NBA game, Game 5, Suns Clippers. The start of the Stanley Cup Finals is tomorrow, and if you have nothing to do during the day, catch some European soccer. That will be fun, as well as some South American soccer. They'll also be on. So plenty of sports to watch there. Stay tuned next week, as we'll be doing the tight ends for the NFL, listing our top 10. I will find the list for CBS Sports and kind of comparing what we have compared to theirs. I still think our list was better as a group compared to his, but a better start for CBS compared to last year, because that was pathetic.
Most definitely.
Again, before you guys get off here, please like and subscribe to our channel. It takes 2 seconds. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're already on YouTube, it's right in front of you. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I mean, we have a lot of listeners. I can look at the stats. We have increasing numbers on basically every other episode. Like, you guys are listening. Just need you to go over to YouTube, like and subscribe, please. Again, I want to thank you guys for listening. That is going to do it for episode 45, though. Been fun. Cannot wait for next time. We should have, most likely, by this time next week, we probably will know who will be in the NBA Finals. So that'll be exciting. And we'll see how far we are into NHL. So you guys have a great week. I want to thank you for listening, and you guys have a great one.